2.
All right, welcome to PBHS, guys. Today I'm accompanied by the usual crew, Mr. Ellis, Rashab, AJ, and Mr. Woodward. But we also have a special guest today, Mr. Holley.
Woo woo. Thank you, Miss Ungar. I greatly appreciate the warm welcome. Just really quick about myself. My name is Intasio Holley. I am the proud assistant principal at Paint Branch High School. This is going on my second year at the wonderful institution. And I'm just greatly appreciated to be a part of this process to talk about sports. So thank you for having me, gentlemen.
All right, let's hop into our quick weekly wrap up. Another disappointing week for the Washington football team. We fell to the Broncos, a game I believe we should have won. It's just like this offense. Once we get into the red zone, we forget how to play football. It's been a consistent thing. Our defense has been stepping up. It's just time for the offense to start showing the colors they showed early on. And hopefully something is clicking, but I'm falling into triple C's, Cool, Calm, and Matt Corral from Ole Miss. We need a quarterback so badly.
Yeah, for my Ravens, we're coming off a strong bye week. That treated us well. We get some key players back on Sunday against the Vikings, but the Steelers defeated the Browns to bury them in last place where they belong, and the Jets upset the Bungles. So I think we're well rested and should come out and play strong against the Vikings this week.
Did I hear the Bungles? Oh my gosh. I guess do I jump in? Yeah, it was a very disappointing loss for my Cincinnati Bengals. Definitely respect. They should be called the Bungles the way that they played. Although they lost, I believe it was a 34-31 deficit by 3 points. So all the games that we've lost this year have been within 3 points. So a total of 9 points collectively in the 3 losses that we had. But I tell you what, my Bengals didn't come to play. Just flat out, they didn't come to play that game. I definitely think we got our coach. We got our play. I definitely think the 3-game road trip fatigue kicked in. No excuses. And it definitely didn't help with the stripes. I'll leave that. So we definitely hope to rebound this week when we see Cleveland that we'll talk about here shortly.
Sometimes it is what it is, man. You got to do what you got to do. Got Trevor Lawrence under center, not Marshawn Lynch, doing running back. But still, I love both of you guys dearly. I don't ever want any of you guys to, think I love one more than the other, even though it was 31-7. We played a good game. James Robinson, who's a big piece for the Jags, came in with a heel injury and then got injured on a big 17-yard game that he had. Sucks to see, my guy Trevor Lawrence lose, but then again, it's my team who I've liked longer. It is what it is. And I'm real happy about that game.
Well, I think we all know how I feel about the Pats last week, but first I want to comment on Rashab. You sound like a Jets fan. We had a great bye week. I mean, what is that? It sounds like you're taking one right out of the Jet fan book right there. But anytime I can go on the Ravens, I will, because I'm going to have to pick with them this week and see what that decision leads me to, because they're back on the field after that strong bye week. But for my Patriots, I love the win last week. I thought it was going to happen, and it did happen. And I just love the way they're playing right now because, as I said last week, this is what it was like to be a Pats fan before the Tom Brady era, when, you scrapped out wins. Not that they didn't scrap out wins with him, but, you didn't know what you were going to get. You needed the defense to come up 1 week. You needed the offense to come up another week. And last week, the defense lifted us, Adrian Phillips in particular, back in San Diego, LA. And that was a big win for us. So I'm looking forward to this week's matchup as well.
Well, you say well there, Mr. Woodward, but I think about how well this Steeler team was feeling coming back on that bus ride. It sounded like, from what I saw on social media, an epic ride back with Snoop Dogg being the soundtrack. So I'll go ahead and do a little Warren G and Snoop reference here. It ain't no fun if the turnovers ain't happening. But thank goodness that turnover happened in the fourth quarter. There was Joe Schobert and Taco Charlton meeting at the ball carrier in a great way to seal that victory for us. Boy, it was like the Buffalo game, man. Those two games, as awful as this season has kind of been in a way and awkward, those two games were awesome when our defense was healthy and everybody seemed to be just playing the ball,
playing together, and we got to continue to do that. And you see Ben with the USC gloves in the interview. When Tomlin did that mic drop, man, it just changed everything. And anybody that says that he is not an all-time great coach is an absolute idiot. I'm just going to be very straight with you there. That was an absolute epic showmanship and gamesmanship. That was not a message to the media in Pittsburgh, which is obliquely racist. And, let's be real, it's the reality of Pittsburgh. And Mike Tomlin has had to be quiet about it for so long. And then he found a way in this interview to just sort of say, hey, look, guys, you need to respect me because I have 149 victories. I'm about to pass Bill Cowher this week. So you see Ben with those USC gloves on. That's when you know that something has really changed with this team in the last 2 weeks. And look, we're not that good. We got holes. We got a lot of rookies out there playing. But this team is together. And if you didn't see that from how the body language was on the sideline at the end of the game as compared to last year at the end of the Browns playoff game loss, I don't know, guys. I'm starting to get a little bit excited.
Looks like a complete 180 is coming from Mr. Ellis and his feelings for the Steelers. But all right, time jumping the first game of the week. We got the Clowns versus the Bungles. This game is kind of a mystery because, not a mystery as much, but this true colors are coming out for one side at least. The Browns are just showing they're very one-dimensional. They have no passing game. Baker Mayfield is not explosive, and the drama with OBJ is just going to make this passing situation not any better. Jarvis Landry's not performing, and as I said before, Baker Mayfield's lackluster with only 6 throwing touchdowns. Nothing's going good there, but the running back situation is somewhat helpful with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. They're both out. I'm not sure when they're coming back, but Dearness Johnson, that boy can ball. I'm happy for him. He's proving his worth. But on the other side, we have Mr. Holley's Bungles. I don't know what happened to you guys. I was really big on you guys for a while, and then you guys go into a shootout with the Jets, who are led by Mike White. He actually made less money from that game than a better did, which is a crazy stat that I learned. But I think it's time for this is not a time for, but the Bengals are going to show that was just a blip in their schedule, and they're going to come out and dominate this Browns team. I have them winning this one 31-10.
Yeah, man. With an injured QB at Baker Mayfield, the Browns offense will have to dig deep into its playbook to beat the Cincinnati defense. This Cincinnati defense absolutely tore up the Baltimore Ravens offensive line, sacking Lamar at least 5 times. So, but then again, they did lose to the Jets the following week, but I think they'll bounce back against the Browns team. Like Anga said, the OBJ drama is just only going to drag this team down. And, sitting at last place in AFC North, this team is just probably just going to have to find something within them, but I don't think that's going to happen this week against a very strong Bengals team. This Cleveland defense has to put up against an electrifying Cincy offense with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon. So Bengals will take this one 28-17.
Like it.
All right, so for this game, I don't know if you guys seen that Odell's dad literally made a YouTube channel talking about how his son isn't getting touches during the game when he's wide open. I mean, that is one hell of a dad, first off. Second off, you got several Browns players liking the video. So that's automatically just going to create animosity within the team, not just in the passing game, just the overall chemistry of the team, especially with Baker, especially with the coach, because the coach kicked out OBJ due to no injury reasons, due to no COVID protocols. He's just not in practice. Like, please just leave. It's going to create a lot of drama within the players, the trust within the players in the front office, the players and the coach. I just think that the Browns front office just needs to really just ban OBJ's dad, because I just feel that if he ever gets on the field and he's face to face with the coach, that's just not going to be good. But for this one, I am going to have to go with the Browns winning this one still. For some reason, I just have the Browns pulling through. This one is going to be a rough game. I got the Browns winning it 21-13.
Yeah, it's a real. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Miss Adams. Were you up next, sir?
No, sir. You are.
I was just going to say, what perfect timing for dysfunctionality. Perfect timing, right? I love it. I was just waiting for OBJ to implode, right? And, growing up in Ohio, I'll tell you what, the Battle of Ohio is the biggest game. Throw out the records, right? It doesn't matter. Those in-division rivalries are brutal. They're ugly. But I'm going to tell you what. Yes, we lost to the Jets last week. Great timing again. We needed that. We are a young team, just learning how to win and win the right way and be consistent. They will never admit it on record, but I think they came into that game slightly arrogant. And they got punched in the mouth, respectfully, by a hungry team that have nothing to lose. I'm a little afraid, though, to be quite honest with you, because Cleveland has some scrappy individuals. They have two of the best strong book ends playing that 5 and 7 technique. I'm not going to say their names. I'm going to reserve the right to make any personal reference to any of those guys outside of OBJ. Thank you, OBJ, for being dysfunctional this week. But we can't afford to lose either. So this is a very high stakes game on the banks of the Ohio River. I think that our crowd is going to bring it. I know in the Seattle Seahawks, they call it the 12th man, right? I'm going to bring an additional person and say we're going to have the 13th man this week on the banks of the Ohio River. So I definitely look forward to my Cincinnati Bengals to bounce back. I think Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, and Mr. Uzama are going to kill it. And I also think that we will shut down a one-dimensional running back offense this week. We are stellar up front. So I'm going to pick the Bengals 30. It's going to be a close game, and I'm going to say the Browns 24.
This is a wicked, wicked tough game to pick, fellas. I mean, I agree that both teams are desperate. I mean, if you're Cincinnati, you want to build on your momentum. I mean, and I think it's interesting because I do feel that both Pittsburgh and Baltimore took Cincinnati lightly when they came into our respective home stadiums. And then it's kind of like Cincinnati turned the trick and did the same thing. So which real team will stand up this week? Well, I'm going to take Cleveland only because I think they have the better coach. It is a toss-up game to me because I think the line, particularly Cleveland's O-line, is supposed to be a little bit healthier this week. I do think that will make a difference in this game, and they're going to be able to grind a little bit more on the ground. I was stunned with Cincy's secondary. I thought it was awesome. And Bates, I mean, that might be the first bad game he's had, maybe ever, in my opinion. I mean, that guy's awesome. And maybe like with Humphrey, I think too, in the game against Cincinnati, it's like a weird, off game. So I expect him to bounce back. This is going to be a close game, but I'm taking Cleveland just because I think, to me, Zach Taylor showed some massive flaws as a coach that didn't show up against Baltimore or Pittsburgh because his stars balled. And when your stars don't ball 100%, your coach needs to ball 100%. And I'm taking Stefanski slightly over him, 27-26. I got the Clowns in an upset in Cincinnati, but I do think both teams are going to be relevant the rest of the way. And we'll see what happens.
Wow. Mr. Ellis on his best behavior because Mr. Holley's here, for crying out loud. He didn't use us. I mean, wow. I'm shocked by some of the language that I did not hear and some of the terminology that went in there. It sounded like a very respectful choice today, Mr. Ellis. You guys have pretty much said everything about this one. So I do think I want to mention what AJ said. I think we learned so much this week, and to what Mr. Holley's pointed as well, that OBJ he's just a distraction. I mean, very talented, but it has just not worked in Cleveland. And I watched I watched that video, I watched that video. I like that song, it's old school. And looking at it, he was open on a lot of those plays where Baker missed him, hit him in the back a couple times, hit other people in the back. So, I mean, it just did show me some of the dysfunction on that offense. But that being said, he's the one that's going to go because quarterbacks are harder to come by and they're just going to have to stick with him for a little bit. But it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But I don't think Cincinnati has that same issue right now. You mentioned the great guys they have on offense that when they ball out, they win and they can blow a team out like they did to the Ravens, which we were all shocked by. So, both teams had a chance last week to take control of the division, at least to some point, and, getting that win against Pittsburgh would have been huge for them. But they for the Browns, but they didn't pull it off. And the Bengals, I was completely shocked by that. But who knew? You get a quarterback like that the Jets had, who, by the way, his jersey, helmet, and ball are in the Hall of Fame. The most yards ever passed for in a debut. I think that's what it was for. He's in the Hall of Fame. So what a week for that kid. What a week for the Jets, who are surprisingly got 2 wins against some good football teams. So, this one's going to be interesting. Little side note. Can you imagine how good OBJ's huddle tape must have been coming out of high school with his dad with that kind of video skills? He must have been killing it, right? Well, who knows? He must have been amazing. So for me, that's a real interesting story on this one. But I think it's going to be a great football game, though. You have 2 teams who need a win bad. And I see the Bengals at home taking this one. I'll go with the healthier team as well. The Browns have a lot of injuries, even though guys are probably going to play. They're hurt. I'll take the Bengals 34-26.
All right. A lot of bold predictions, and Mr. Woodward said, Mr. Ellis keeping himself in check, not going for the Bengals today. Kind of surprising. But all right, up next, we got Green Bay versus the Kansas City Chiefs. The Packers were looking red hot, and now they seem to be in disarray. I'm not sure if you guys heard, Aaron Rodgers has been put on the COVID-19 list, and for some reason, they decided to go and sign Blake Bortles and not use the quarterback they have in their system with Jordan Love, the one they drafted instead of drafting Aaron Rodgers wide receiver help, which may have been useful right now because it looks like half their wide receivers are out. They're still missing Devontae Adams, I believe, and MVZ and Lazard. And I just don't think things are going to go right. After a great win, things are falling apart. And on the other side of the ball, there's the Kansas City Chiefs. I was given the luxury / punishment of being able to watch their entire game off the home from California. And I don't know if I enjoyed it or hated it because I saw the Giants lose. But wow, Mahomes, like sitting and watching him play, he makes so many dumb decisions. Their turnover count is, I believe, 19, and they make around 20. They turn the ball over 24% of the time on each drive. That was a statistic they showed. And in that one game, he should have thrown at least 3 or 4 interceptions. They're lucky to not be in the 30s. This man is just trying to force big play after big play, get back to the level they were last few seasons, going off the script, off the playbook, making things happen, but it's just not happening for them. Everyone's struggling, the whole team's struggling, and then they just need to go back to the basics of what they know. And luckily, this game, they have a chance. They can play good defense, work out against them. Luckily for them, the Packers' offense doesn't pose a threat. They're missing too many people. So I think this will be a good game for the Chiefs to practice out, get back to what they know, and win this game 28-17.
Yeah, actually, Onga, earlier today, Devontae Adams just got activated off the COVID list, so they have him for this week. Him and I think it was Lazard that were activated. Yeah, but last week it was losing your top 3 wide receivers to COVID, and now this week you lose your starting QB to COVID. So I mean, this week we'll get to see if Jordan Love starts. He will get to see Aaron Rodgers' potential successor, and Packers also get a Devontae Adams and starting LT Bakhtiari back, right? But if we go back to the Cardinals game, this running game was absolutely effective. AJ Dillon was killing it in the trenches, and Aaron Jones was getting involved with the pass game as well, netting 7 catches for 51 yards, which was pretty good. So, and the Chiefs defense has been struggling all year. It's been like a fact. Like they've been absolutely terrible this year, and I think Green Bay will pull off a victory without the reigning MVP under center and just taking advantage of that horrendous Chiefs defense. Give me the Packers 31-27.
Looking at this game and seeing Blake Bortles, the QB for Jacksonville, whenever he got off the field, he'd always grab his hat with his helmet on, and he'd take his helmet off, put the hat on quick, and then take his hat off, put the helmet on quick. I don't know if he was scared to see the receding hairline, or I don't know what it was, but I'm surprised that they're not going with Jordan Love, the quarterback that they literally drafted. But hey, sometimes QBs want to go off. You never know what to expect from Blake Bortles in this game. But then again, just as Rasab said, Kansas City, they're not it. They're Pat Mahomes is obviously trying to force those big plays that they used to have. So a couple seasons ago, even last year, and their defense is just not there at all. So I definitely feel that Blake Bortles is definitely going to take advantage of their weak secondary. And I'll also take Green Bay. I'll take Green Bay 24-10.
Wow. No discount double check this week, right? Can't believe it. Wow. No
None.
discount double check at all.
None.
So with
24-10.
that, absolutely. So with that being said, in my opinion, I think the Packers is really going to be challenged to move the football. They do have some key assets there. But again, discount double check totally changes the dynamic of any ball game. The way that he climbs the pocket, the way that he checks his reads. There's nothing that gentleman hasn't seen to get the offense into a right play. But I do think they will be able to run the ball. I believe it's with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. Pretty stellar line up front. So I think that their run game will definitely show come this week. And just like Rashad said, the Chiefs aren't good at all on defense. Outside of Honey Badger. They're just not good on defense. You know, interiorly, they're not good. Up front, they don't get off blocks. Linebackers don't get off blocks as well. And again, their DBs are suspect, in my opinion. So that's definitely going to be a struggle. There is a little hang up in terms of Blake Bortles coming. I don't understand what that move is all about. That lets me know that they don't currently have the confidence in Jordan Love, who I actually like at quarterback. I think the Packers will hang around. But if you know Andy Reid like I do, the guy's a coaching guru. He's going to put a rabbit out of the hat. So I'm going to go out there. I'm going to say the Chiefs 24, Packers 23.
It's almost like my exact score, so I'm going to have to change it just slightly. But I'm with you on that, though. I think it's going to be a close game because I think the Packers can run the ball. They can control the ball. They proved that against the Cardinals last week. They controlled the flow of the game by working the ground game, and it was effective. And now you get Big Box back. I mean, that guy's a beast, man. You got him back in there, and we'll see how long it takes him to really get back to game speed, though. But I don't see anybody on Kansas City that's going to take advantage of his, lack of reps. But at the end of the day, I'm going to say, I'll say Kansas City 27-20, hanging on to get the win. I do think they'll do enough. And Packers defense, well, they haven't played a lot of AFC teams. So when you play AFC teams, there are teams that are physical. They're going to pound you a little bit. They're going to move the ball. And Kansas City has been struggling to move the ball. They look a lot to me, like I said, like the 2006 Steelers, like this super talented team that just law averages sometimes hits. But I think they get this win and hang on.
Yeah, it's funny. I think those of us picking here at the end, scores are very similar. And for some reason, we're talking about no defense, and the scores are still sort of low, in the 20s. So it's interesting, but I think it's going to be because of that ball control that the Packers are going to try to do. It's interesting, like hands up if you had Pat Mahomes versus Jordan Love when you looked at the schedule a couple of weeks ago. I mean, nobody thought that was going to happen. Aaron Rodgers has been so consistent in terms of playing. I don't know how many games in a row he's played or anything like that, but he has always been on the field. And so this came as a surprise. I thought that he was, immunized against injury. But, the interesting thing with Jordan Love is I don't even know how ready he is because it doesn't even seem like Aaron Rodgers talks to him. Like that's probably the quietest quarterback room in the league, right? Aaron Rodgers got some weird chip on his shoulder. The guy.
I think Ben and Mason Rudolph is right up there too, man. I mean, I don't think they've even looked at each other. Yeah, don't even look at him.
But it's interesting. So that being said, with the Blake Bortles pickup too, and Blake Bortles is going to be backing him up. I mean, I read something that said that he's going to compete for the starting job on Sunday, which I can't even believe that statement was made because you have Jordan Love there. I mean, how is he not just automatically stepping up into it? I mean, that's what the 49ers are, doing when Trey Lance is coming in when Jimmy G is hurt. So for me, it's definitely time for the Chiefs to start making some plays. And really it starts with Mahomes. He's got to stop trying to do too much. And even if he does that, he'll still do more than most quarterbacks in the league will ever dream of doing. He just needs to play a little bit more within himself and stop forcing plays because that's when his magic happens, when he's not forcing it, and he's still going to make great plays. And the turnovers have hurt the Chiefs, and controlling that is going to be the key to the rest of their season. They can't be turning it over. They can't be fumbling and having him throw bad interception. So I think the loss of Aaron Rodgers is just too much for Green Bay. even if they are getting Devontae Adams back, because he and Aaron Rodgers are 1 and 1A, obviously of an importance in this team. But I think ultimately Aaron Rodgers is the most valuable member of any team in the league to me. He just seems to be the straw that serves that drink. I was shocked at what they were able to do in Arizona. So I think having him out is going to be too much. Still going to keep it at a slightly close game and low scoring to me. I see the Chiefs taking this one 24-20.
All right, so up next, we have the Ravens returning from a bye week against the Vikings. And as you guys already know, Vikings time means me hating on Kirk Cousins time. This man managed to lose a football game against a guy that looks like he would play Andy Dalton in a movie. Like Cooper Rush. How do you get outplayed by Cooper Rush? Of all people. Just Kirk. How do you I feel like this man just loves losing games he should win. And it is hilarious. Because I'm happy we did not give that man the contract he wanted, the money he wanted, because that's like setting money on fire and watching it just burn. Because he is in disappointment. So, luckily for the Ravens, hopefully their league worst pass defense, something I found out today, is able to take advantage of Kirk Cousins being horrible and Kirk Cousins just being Kirk Cousins. And I think they'll be able to maintain him, even though that's not that much of a struggle. Lamar is going to have a good game. I think the Vikings are just reeling from losing a game they thought they should have won with ease, and they're not going to they're not playing an opponent that's any easier. So I have the Ravens winning this one, 31-20.
This Kirk Cousins slander will never stop. It's never gonna stop. Never. It's gonna keep going
Never,
for as long as we're
never.
doing this podcast. Ungood's hate for Kirk Cousins is like eternal. But I believe if the Ravens want to win this game and want to be dominant, they need to establish the run like effectively and early. They need the running backs to come through this game. Against the Bengals, Devontae Freeman, Le'Veon Bell were non-existent, and Lamar being like the only primary rusher, rushing 8 carries, 68 yards, and getting nothing out of the running back. So we can't be this one-dimensional because we're also known for running the football as well. But the Ravens additionally may get back reinforcements with the likes of Nick Boyle, who was one of the premier blocking tight ends in the NFL, and Derek Wolfe, who was a force in the run game last year, and Sammy Watkins, which will allow the offense to open up with Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews getting more touches when he's on the field. But the Vikings have also lost their best pass rusher in Danielle Hunter with a torn pectoral. And I believe the Ravens should take advantage of that. I think Lamar won't get us sacked as much this game. And I think we will hold up well against the Vikings team on the road with a score of 33-21.
So looking at the last time that the Ravens played, they gave up 41. They gave up 41 points, okay? 41 points. Talk about a game where the Bengals did whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted, however they wanted to do it. They wanted to throw the ball downfield, that's what they did. They wanted to run the ball, that's what they did. They wanted to get a huge gain, that's what they did. And they did it with ease. That's why they got 41 points. All right. I don't know what the picks were for that week that we had, but I'm pretty sure our picks were way off. Our predictions were way off.
Yeah, just don't rewind to Blowout City at about minute 32 last week.
But looking at this game, I mean, come on now. The Vikings are. I feel Lamar is just gonna. The Ravens offense is gonna just have a nice, fun day, a very, very fun day. I mean, it's Kirk Cousins. I think On God's already slammed him enough. I mean, unless we're going to shoot Kirk Cousins a text if he wants to come on this one for 1 week on here and maybe do a couple predictions. If we could pay him the right money, which I don't think that will happen. So, but for this prediction, I'm definitely going to take the Ravens. I'll take Ravens 31-17.
Wow. Wow, I tell you. So as we all know, the Vikings are coming off a very tough loss this week. While the Ravens are coming off a much needed bye. Who they again? I'm always going to throw that plug in every time that I get. For all of you Ravens fans. No pun intended, Rashad. I'm sorry. The Vikings, however, look lifeless on offense against the Cowboys. And they face this really, really tough, Ravens defense that's looking for payback. that was shredded. I mean, shredded. AJ, you mentioned we put up 41 points during that last showing. And the great thing about that, I actually had the pleasure of sitting in the stadium personally, me and my son, to watch the game. I didn't know if I shared with you, one of my former students is the starting one technique for the Baltimore Ravens in Brandon Williams, number 98. And so Brandon blessed me and my son with tickets to that game. So it was just amazing to see with my own eyes, just the work of magic. But I'm supposed to be talking about Minnesota Vikings and the Baltimore Ravens, so I'll get back there. Can Kirk Cousins get it done? Is the question. It depends on the day. Ungod is shaking his head. AJ saying yes. I think he's going to play well, better than he did last week. I really do. But I also think that Lamar Jackson is going to come back just like, player of the year of Lamar Jackson come this week. I really think he is. The only reason why I'm going to predict that the Ravens pull this off by a very slim margin is because their head coach, Coach Zimmer, I respect that guy to the utmost. Of course, he was with the Cincinnati Bengals for several years, had great success as a position coach, Dallas Cowboys. But Zimmer's going to bring it. His defense is definitely going to be ready. I think he's going to scheme really good to contain Lamar Jackson and take away some of those weapons. So I think it's going to be closer than expected. I am going to say the Ravens going to pull it off 26, and I'll say the Vikings 23.
Now you think about poor on guy talking about Kirk Cousins. So if we had like this huge dinner table of like 12 fellas, right? We had the dirty dozen at the dinner table, right? So it's you and like the worst quarterback enemy from your team of all time. Like would the circle be like me? I'm taking Neil O'Donnell. Mr. Howe, you going David Klingler. Shab, you're going Eric Zier, maybe. Mr. Woodward, Tony Eason, or one of those fellas. AJ,
easy.
Rick Myra.
Oh, Rick Myra, that's perfect. That's all that. That's great. The old Irish. He was the least Irish of the Irish there, Rick Myra. Yes, he was mired in mediocrity. He came to the pros. Mired in it. Speaking of mired, I think Kirk Cousins is going to be mired in disaster. This is going to be a blowout city. Man, I tell you, Baltimore's going to be hyped for this game too because people are not happy. People were ticked off actually after that loss, and you don't want to play the Ravens when they're angry, man. This is going to be an ugly game. I mean, I got Washington 40. Excuse me, I have Baltimore 41-7 over the former Washington quarterback, Mr. You like that? Well. If I'm Minnesota fans, I don't like the fact that he's got a contract for a few more years.
Yeah. Wow, that's a big score. I mean, as you like to say, blowout city in Minnesota. So I mean, that would be 2 losses in a row. I think that Dallas game was in Minnesota too, which is why I picked them. So I picked the Vikes last week and they burned me. And once again, it just showed me I think the Cowboys are better than people thought they were, but the Vikings just lost, as Rashad said, or maybe it was Anga who said, to Cooper Rush. So how can they expect to beat Lamar Jackson? I mean, you guys are all right. They're coming off of, as we heard at the beginning of the show, a great bye week. And I don't even know what that means. They probably had a good time. They relaxed. They got healthy for sure, but a healthy Ravens team coming off a bye week, working on the pass defense because we know that's what the Vikings do best, although certainly, they've got a good running game and they certainly have some talented players on offense. But this is definitely going to be a game where the Vikings and Kirk Cousins they can't keep up. They're not going to be able to keep up with the Ravens because the Ravens are just going to come out smoking. And for me, this one's going to be blowout city, but the Ravens will head out early and then they'll give up some points late. But I think ultimately the Ravens will be in control of this one the whole way, 34-23.
Classic a Kirk Cousins stat pattern, huh, man? That guy he pads those stats late in games. He's getting blown out, man, to the tune of $900 million that he's made off of it. It's ridiculous.
Kirk Cousins seems
I
like
need a part of that racket, man.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Kirk Cousins seems like the guy that'd be a fantastic flag football quarterback. You'd be like, oh yeah, we got Kirk. Yeah, he'd throw for, he'd be great for that, but not for the NFL.
That's very true. All right. Up next, we have the Cardinals versus the 49ers. I'm not sure if you guys are like keeping up with the Cardinals, but I think the second day in a row where not Dustin Hopkins, it's the ghost of the past kickers in my head. DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray both missed the last 2 days of practice. Kyler Murray's dealing with a sprained ankle. It's looking like he has 3 weeks of recovery time. And luckily for them, they're playing the 49ers. I know we're all big on division games, but it's week 9. And you know who's good at division games in the middle of the season? Colt McCoy. Colt the GOAT. I feel like he's going to have to play this game and step up for the Cardinals. And I think he will. We saw him do it with the Washington football team about, I believe, 6 years ago when he went into Dallas and beat the Cowboys who were on a 6-game winning streak. And what a horrible Washington football team. So I think now he has better weapons around him. He's still a good quarterback. I think he'll be able to fill in the shoes of Kyler Murray just for 1 week. And he'll be able to win this game because the 49ers are also missing Deebo Samuel, who was NFC Offensive Player of the Week last week, and now they're just missing that other layer of offense they needed. And without him, they look pretty one-dimensional. Their running game isn't the best. Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance, whoever's out there, it just seems like a constant struggle. So give me the Cardinals winning this game 28-20.
Actually, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that. I think the Cardinals will actually upset, or the 49ers will upset the Cardinals. So coming off a loss to Green,
That happened. Not Colt McCoy.
I mean, we'll see. But coming off a loss to Green Bay, the Cards are matched up for a divisional matchup against San Francisco. In the previous game they played earlier in the season, the Cardinals only beat the 49ers 17-10, which means it was a close game. But this week the 49ers gained home field advantage. Like I've preached before, home field advantage is like a major positive when you're playing these divisional time matchups. But, I know Kittle is in fact returning. Elijah Mitchell's been playing good. And then hopefully if Deebo gets a chance to play Sunday, I think the 49ers will upset the Cards at home 26-17.
So I'm just gonna ask. This is gonna be an ongoing question for the next guys that are doing their prediction. Whose fault was it on Arizona's team for their loss? I already know who. I just want to know if you're gonna say anyone else. If you're just gonna surprise me. Me, I already know who. And
does the name sound familiar, sir?
I don't know if we share the same first name. I don't.
Alrighty.
We might share the same first name, but if I was there, I knew that wouldn't have happened. If I was there, I'm making that easy touchdown catch. That's easy, Moss.
AJ would have caught that 100%.
I would have caught that. I could tackle. I could sack Big Ben. I could neutralize Derrick Henry. I could moss Trevon Diggs. I could neutralize Tom Brady if I really wanted to, but they're just not ready for me. So I think I'm just gonna chill and focus on school for now. But if they ever need me, they could always give me a call. They can always find my number if they really, really need me, which in future, they could. But it's AJ Green's fault. Like, what was he doing? He ran into the defender when he was clearly supposed to go right, and then Kyler threw the ball where AJ was supposed to be, and then he puts his hands up and tries blaming it on Kyler like it was AJ Green's fault. But looking at this game, Colt McCoy, I think he's going to do it, man. I think he's going to do it. I really, really think that he is going to do it. I believe. I really believe. So I'm going to take the Cards. It's going to be a tight game, 24-21.
Wow. Poor AJ Green. Wow. AJ, you didn't give that guy a break at all, huh?
Not at all. We can't share the same name and you can't sell.
Wow. So we all know that if we look at the record, right? Arizona's 7-1, I believe, and 3-4 with the 49ers. Again, I throw those records out the window when we talk about a divisional game. It's just a different mindset. And so if the 49ers have any remote chance to stay in it, all right, this is a win. This is a must win for these guys. So I definitely think they're going to bring it. They did play a little better last week on offense with Jimmy G, which I think will carry over a little bit this week. I believe someone mentioned some of the injuries that the Arizona Cardinals are facing right now. The injury bug has caught up with the team. They got off to a really, really hot start, and they still have a great record. I think the 49ers run game is going to have a great day against that defense. One of my favorite edge rushers, unfortunately, has been lost for the season, Mr. Watt. So that's going to hurt him really bad, to be quite honest with you, for multiple different reasons. He just brings a different energy to the game. Definitely going to be a sideline cheerleader during that game, but it's nothing like bringing it on the field. So I think the 49ers run game is going to get off to a really good start. And I think defensively, they're going to limit the offense of Arizona. So I have to agree with you. I think, Rashad, you said it's going to be an upset. It's going to be a very close game. But I think I'm going to lean towards and going to go with the underdogs. I'm going to go with the 49ers this time. It's going to be a close game. So I'm going to say 49ers 27, Arizona 23.
Yeah, I agree. And I see the Cards in the midst of a slide here. I think they're going to lose a few more. I think their defense is not that good. And when you lost, one of your primary cogs in the wheel on that D, not to mention offensively, let's see what this offensive line is really made of, because Kyler Murray is amazing. Mr. Wood, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, like watching his high school footage and watching how he moved, and let's see what this O-line is really made of. We're going to find out because, San Francisco is going to bring it up front. That's really all they got right now. So let's see what happens. But I'm going to give the Niners a victory here too, but I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game. I'm going to take San Francisco 19 and Arizona 17. Love you, Colt, but you're playing against your old coach, man. You're in trouble.
That is a low number. Now, is Colt? I mean, you guys are talking like Kyler Murray's not going to play at all. I mean, he hasn't been ruled out yet, and it is definitely a game at 7-1. They can afford another loss. I know a division loss is never a good thing. So, I mean, they're not looking to lose this game. And Colt McCoy coming in, I mean, yeah, the legend of Colt McCoy. I mean, you got a name like Colt McCoy, you go into Dallas, you got to beat the Cowboys. I mean, that's the way it works. I mean, Cooper Rush would go into Dallas to beat the Cowboys, right? So the interesting thing in this one is if Kyler Murray plays, I think it'll be a much better game, obviously, because he's Kyler Murray. And, DeAndre Hopkins has got to get his game back too. But, if he's injured as well, that's going to be a key. And that plays into the hands of the Niners. The Packers absolutely ran all over the Cardinals last week. We talked about losing J.J. Watt, how that was going to be big emotionally and leadership and whatnot. And in the run game too. I mean, he's a good run game defender. He's not going to put the pressure on the quarterback like he used to, but losing him, that's a big loss. And the Niners ran the ball great last week. And Jimmy G didn't throw any touchdown passes last week, but he ran for 2. And so this is definitely a week that I can see the Niners using that game plan again. Jimmy G's good when he doesn't have to win the game for you, and he can make short throws. He can make smart throws. I mean, he's definitely a guy that can make that happen. And Kyler Murray, if he's injured, that's going to help him come back down to earth a little bit. He had no TDs, 2 picks last week. And I know he wants to come back. Maybe he'll press a little bit. And if he is on the field, he's going to be limited because of that injury. So whether it's Colt or whether it's Kyler Murray, I think the 49ers at home take this one 24-17.
All right. Up next, we got Mr. Woodward's Patriots versus Panthers. What a week for them last week against Chargers. I told you, Mr. Woodward, I'll stop by SoFi Stadium when I was in LA and give you guys some good luck. It worked out with that win.
I appreciate that. You did a nice job.
I had to pull through. All right. And
That's massively clutch, man. I mean, that's amazing. 2,500 miles away.
I had to pull through. And
More,
we got the LA
more
one.
like 45, right? Because I think Denver's 20-some hundred from here.
And then on the other side of the ball, we got the Carolina Panthers. This team started out hot. They were 3-0, and then every week they just got worse and worse and worse. We started off thinking, oh, maybe the Jets were the problem with Sam Darnold. But now it's looking like he had some say in his downfall and with the Jets, because right now he's not performing. And I feel like the loss of Curtis Samuel is hurting them because their offense just doesn't seem to have any impact, or there's no one there to help, especially with Christian McCaffrey being out. I'm not sure if he's coming back anytime soon, but at this point, it looks like it seems like he's made of glass. He just comes back, tears up the first 3 games, then gone. And that's not what you want from a player. You want it for all season, not just 3 games. And I think, as I've said before in the podcast, the Patriots are just going to get better and better and better. This team was better now than they were like a month ago. And this is another game where they're going to win this one. They're scrapping these games out, but they're turning into a team that beats the teams below them. And as Mr. Woodward said, this is not like what Tom Brady, this easy things. But I can see a bright future with Mac Jones. They're playing really well. And I was really not the biggest fan of Mac Jones, but he's proven me wrong. And I think he will continue to prove me wrong this week. And the Patriots are going to win this game pretty handily, 31-17.
Yeah, the Patriots are coming off a very, very impressive win against the Chargers, and making Justin Herbert struggle within that passing game, and then that defense just playing well. So even winning 3 of the last 4, New England is trying to gain some steam and possibly become a playoff contender. While the Panthers have struggled after starting off 3-0, Mac Jones and his Patriots team will have no problem handling the Panthers this week with the score of 30-21.
Sorry, my fault. Looking at this game, like I said, like I always say every single week, Mac Jones looks comfortable. He looks comfortable in the center. But I'm gonna really just gotta look. Stephon Gilmore, great game when he played against Atlanta. But I'm still going to have to go with the Patriots are going to prevail against the Panthers. I mean, come on now. It's Sam Darnold, okay? Is that really much of a threat? Come on. I'm going to take the Patriots 24-7.
I like how this is unfolding.
This is a tough one. So the Patriots will be likely it'll be a defensive battle against the Carolina Panthers. All right. I believe they're going to be starting at 3rd or 4th quarterback, I believe, that has more interceptions than touchdown passes, unfortunately. I can't bet against Belichick, but I'm going to keep it real simple with this one. I'm going to project it 35-13, and I'm going to take the Patriots over the Panthers.
Yeah, I like it too. I mean, I think it was an easier call than it would have been 3 weeks ago. And that just proves to you guys that, the schedule, you always say it's going to be bigger than it is, but, you just never know what breaks you're going to catch along the way. And certainly for New England, this is a fortuitous break here of playing against a 0 quarterback. Kind of helps. But last week they played against a pretty good emerging quarterback and looked good. So I expect the same here. This is, let's just we don't have to use the term, but we'll just say the old BOC, the old blowout city here is coming into play. But I'm going to give you one more. I'm going to triple down. Okay, I'm going to hat trick it here. Okay, on blowout city, the old BOC, and I'll do my best to do my imitation of the great Penguins privileged dress announcer when the goal is scored. But I see the Steelers putting lots of goals on the board from number 22 Najee Harris with a 2013 victory on Monday night against the Chicago Bears. And if we lose to the Bears, fellas, Tuesday I'm going to be, I don't know. I'm going to be incognito.
Hey, Mr. Ellis, that's a real nice transition. You mentioned hat trick. I know you guys are all following the Bruins Red Wings game tonight, but Patrice Bergeron staked them to a 2-0 lead. So one more. Hats coming on the ice.
Harrison Bergeron, I read that, but Patrice, no.
This is a great week for the Patriots. But of course, as we learned last week with the Bengals, who just coming off the high of beating the Ravens so handily, got handled by the best Jets quarterback in recent memory, Mike White. And so you never know what you're going to get here. They could go into Carolina and just lay an egg. But I liked the road trip last week, and they played well, and they did what they did to the Chargers, and they put Justin Herbert, in a place that they forced him to make bad throws, and Adrian Phillips had a great day, obviously. So apparently Christian McCaffrey is back, though how much he may play Sunday and what kind of impact he could have. And as one of you guys said, he could get hurt again easily. It just kind of seems to be a pattern with him, unfortunately. But so he may be back on the field, so they may have to deal with him. And then AJ mentioned Stephen Gilmore. You know, he has a quad injury, so we'll see if his payback game goes as planned. If he's healthy, I would look for him to play well. Stephen Gilmore's a baller. He plays well in big games, as he showed in the Super Bowl. He's showed many games when he played for the Pats. And so he's part of a good young defense. I mean, they have a good defense in Carolina that's fast and young, but I like the way the Pats offense is rounding into form. Even as Mac Jones is still figuring it out, he didn't have a great day last week, but he played well late. Mr. Ellis texted me towards the end of the game and said Mac looks great because he was, 4 for 4 or 5 for 5 on that final drive when they needed him to be. And so that's what you want. You want to see that growth from Mac Jones. So right now, ultimately on paper, this is 2 4-4 teams. With one, the Panthers, if the playoffs started right now, they'd be in, and one, the Pats, would be on the bubble, and they wouldn't be. But I like the way the Pats are trending upwards right now. They've won 2 straight, 3 out of 4. So I look them to make it 3 straight in this one. I like the Pats 23-10.
You think they'll play Return of the Mac across the PA there?
How could they
The
not?
game?
How could they not?
I mean, I'm playing it the minute we end. Great job tonight, everybody. Man.
All right. And with that, all the predictions are done. And it looks like we have a great week of football ahead of us. I would just like to say peace out from me, Mr. Ellis, Mr. Holley, Rashad, AJ, and Mr. Woodward. Mr. Holley can give a quick shout out as you're your special guest. And yeah.
In closing, I will say awesome job, everybody. It was my pleasure again. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, Holley, Battle of Ohio. Let's go Bengals.
Hey, you remember that Houday chant that happened in the locker room in January 6th, 2006? That was a fun one. But hey, Mr. Holley, it's all right, man. You guys are probably closer to a Super Bowl than we are anyway. So
This is not Cleveland.
Oh, Sam White, that was the best. You're not in Cleveland. You're not in Cleveland.
The only
That was one of the greatest things of all time. Sam. R.I.P. Sam White. That was that. I mean, that was an epic rant. Like, talk about mic drops. Don't look that one up on the internet. It was absolutely epic.
in the freezing cold, if I'm correct, right? I mean,
like
was it
4 degrees?
Yes, Mr. Weber. Yes, it was. Absolutely. It was
an amazing moment. Absolutely amazing moment.
Great soundbite to go Google it, gentlemen. Great soundbite.
No
that was
doubt.
a good one.
All right. I think that'll wrap it up for us. We'll see you guys next week. Stay safe.